Well, I am running late tonight, but we're going to go ahead and cut tonight's session a little short anyway. But I'm excited to be here. I'm running late because I've been working on very intensely working on some great things. So I'll be telling you more about the things I'm working on. One of the things I did today was to really and worked on it today and also yesterday, some over the weekend and stuff. I'm going to be launching one or two other YouTube channels that will be focused on helping people to create financial liberation in their life. This channel is focused on helping you to create your sexual and relationship liberation. And so I don't want to kind of, intermix the financial liberation with that. Some great things have been going on in that area for myself personally, and I'll be telling you a lot more about that in the next couple of months. But one of the things that as you all know, who's been following me this year, that I come here on every Monday evening and do an update, and this is what I call my weekly update. Because I find that my life in the transition that I am going through right now, which is transition and transformation, is very similar to what I went through when some 13 years ago when I transitioned and transformed my marriage from being a monogamous relationship and a monogamous marriage into a ethically and consensually non-monogamous relationship and marriage. And so many of the things, the concepts and the ideas and the things that I work on are the same. For instance, I found that this idea that I now utilize in my coaching program of how you have to first reframe. And that's the first step that we use in the process of creating the dream life that you desire and you want to have the most. You first reframe, and that is that you reframe with information your own self in your mind, so that you can start to shift some of your thinking. And when I was monogamous, I lived a religious life for most of my adult life, and for over 20 years I became involved in church life when I was a teenager before I ever got married, and then married a woman who was all her life involved in church life, and then I became the religious person I didn't ever want to be, and it took me 20 years to wake up to that. Actually, it took me 24 years to wake up to that. I'll put it from age 20 to age 44. And then that's when I started to having to reframe some of my own thinking, about sex and about relationships. And then after I reframed my own thinking, then I had to do some transformation in my life. And that's where I learned and found that and believe that sex can be the most transformative power, or the sex can be the strongest, most powerful force of transformative, positive change in a person's life. And so for me, sex became that. And that was where then I went from, being in a monogamous relationship to not wanting to be in a monogamous relationship. I still wanted to be in a relationship with the woman that I was in a relationship with, but I wasn't going to let my attachment to the woman I was in a relationship with ruin the dream life that I wanted to create for myself. So if she wasn't going to be on board, then I was willing to go ahead and have our marriage, which we had been married for 27 years. And I was at a point of saying, it's not worth it to me to continue in the marriage if I can't have some sexual enjoyment and satisfaction in my life. And I didn't want to cheat on her, as we discussed, very recently. I think it was last week or the week before when we talked about values. And And so, I didn't want to cheat on her, didn't want to lie and be deceptive and sneak around and hide around and all that. And now I know that there's people in my audience that are involved in that, and they don't necessarily love it and like it, but they do it because they don't want to risk getting a divorce, and there's various factors. And I certainly do not want to be your judge. I just really want to help to lead you into maybe a different, reframe your thinking so that maybe that you will see that it's better to really live the life that you create and love the most, that is based upon being ethical and consensual as a human being the best human being that you can be. And because I found that, in monogamy, my relationship didn't bring out the best in me. It brought out, in some cases, the worst in me. And so I started to reframe what goes on up here in my head. And then after I did that, then I started to transform my life by taking steps of action that were consistent in the life that I wanted to live and have. And in that case, it would be steps of action of working out and doing a lot of communication, creating better communication skills, because I really messed it up the first time I approached my wife and talked to her about opening our marriage. And that cost me a whole year of time and in opening the marriage. And I really messed it up, and she felt threatened, and she felt insecure, and she got defensive and threatened to divorce me for the first time in my whole life. And so there again, though, is that I learned that I really have to be very thoughtful and intentional about the things that I'm doing. And I just can't go out there and fly off the handle somewhere and just say, oh, I'm just going to go in and talk to her about this or anything. I've got to be, what I know now as a magnetic coach, we call this creating the structure and the tension. And the structure is basically having a proven step-by-step process for you to take and get from where you are right now to where you want to be. And so that's the structure. And so whether it be getting into a life where you can have more sex with more people more often, or whether it be like what I'm going through in transforming my income, where I can have more income from more sources that give me more freedom and liberation, because I'm not having to trade my time for dollars. I'm creating more passive incomes. And so there's got to be a structure that's a good, solid, proven structure that takes you from point A, where you're at, to point B, where you want to be. And so that, is the same for both of us, whatever you're working on and what I'm working on. But then you need to also have the tension. And imagine, you see, what happens, this is part of understanding how our mind works, how our consciousness works, and our subconscious work, in that they are designed in order to, it goes back, for thousands and thousands of years. It's built in, encoded in the DNA of our life, that they are designed to keep you safe and to protect you, and keep you from harm and stuff like this. And so that conscious and subconscious mind does not like change at all. It sees change as something that could potentially hurt you. And so, for instance, like in my case, I've been pretty clear here that I want to create, my first goal is, of some significance, is to create an income of $5,000 a month online. That's a passive ongoing income. And so, my conscious mind, not my conscious, but my subconscious mind, it wants to keep me safe. And what that means then is it doesn't want to see me fail. And so $5,000 is the first little goal that I have, and my goal beyond that is $20,000 a month, and then the goal beyond that is to make $38,500 a month every month, sustainable, ongoing, passive income, so that I'm not having to trade all my time and for working for every hour and every penny of that money. That it kind of continues on and requires just a little bit of time and effort on my part. And so that's what I'm working to create. And so for me to do that, my subconscious mind, wants to, I had to go through some processes, which my mentor in Australia, Chris Duncan, he has really worked with me wonderfully with some processes to help rewire my brain, and my brain was trying to keep me safe, keep me from stepping out and doing something that I potentially could fail at. And that's what your subconscious brain is doing as well. It is keeping you from where you're at, so that you don't step out and potentially fail at having what you desire and what you want to have and create in your life the most, which is having more sex with more people more often. And so your subconscious mind kind of creates resistance. And so again, you're at point A, this is where you're at, and then this is where you want to go. And so imagine, though, that you're here, and every time that you step out from here, that there is this big, huge bungee cord, that is like you see those guys bouncing around at the fair, and it's tied around your waist. And as you move out towards that place that you want to be, there's all this resistance that comes along. And that tension gets to be really strong, wanting to pull you right back where you were. That's what your subconscious mind does. And so it doesn't let you get very far before it starts really trying to pull you back. And that's where sometimes if you're having this experience on an ongoing basis, like in my case, I was last year experiencing this, where I just couldn't break through of doing things that I needed to do to create this kind of money for myself online. And so I had to change the rewire my brain is what I had to do. And that's a process that I'm now, my partner Kat does most of the process for our business, because she's the coach in our business. And that's a process called the superconscious recode process, where you rewire your brain. But it's not what we're really good to talk about tonight. But what happens is that I want to help you to create what we call a magnetic ELF, ECNM life. Now, a magnet is a device that will take and pull you in the direction of where you want to be over here. Just pull you over there and get you into what I call a state of flow. So you're just pulled along. And then a magnet will also take and push away from you anything and everything and everybody that is going to take away from the satisfaction and pleasure that you're going to have in life. But few of us have ever tapped into and fully tapped into our magnetic energy, our magnetism. Most of us during childhood, when we're growing up, we learn to conform, to be able to be kind of traditional and normal. And so we're taught and we're learned to conform. And conformity is the killer of our magnetism. Now, I call it the killer of our magnetism. In reality, conformity just buries it and covers it up. It's still there deep down within you, because it's part of who you are. And so that magnetism, that magnetic energy is still there, but it needs to be uncovered. And then once you uncover it, needs to be discovered and then needs to be developed a little bit. And like I mentioned, I think a couple of weeks ago that on a Monday night that, even Einstein didn't discover his genius until he was in nearly his middle 20s. At the age of 22, he's writing a letter home to his parents, apologizing for being such a disappointment to them. And so your genius, that genius that's within you, it needs to be developed and discovered and uncovered. And that's the same thing as your magnetic energy, because so much it's there from our birth. There are three elements that are your inner being. It's the genius that is within you. It's there from your birth. Your magnetic energy. And then also your divine sexuality. But all three of those elements, conformity comes along and buries them. And when they get buried, then it's like they don't exist in your life. You go your whole life and you don't even know they're there. But they were all given to you in your DNA structure at birth or before birth. And so they're there. It's there. And that's why then some people, they don't end up conforming and having all that covered up in their life. And so, they become genius in some areas and they become, allowing their magnetism to pull them in the direction. It seems like people say, well, seems like they just can't do anything wrong. Everything goes right for them. And then there are people who just have this beautiful sexuality about them. And so those things aren't always covered up in everybody, but they are in many of us. And so that's our inner being. And so that magnetic energy that gets covered up, our magnetism, it then really is like, it gets covered up. And so what is left is that bungee cord that is pulling us back to the life where we're at. It doesn't want us to move forward in our life and create this magical dream life. And so it just wants you to create a normal life, a traditional life, like everybody else. And doesn't that describe your life today? In many cases, you look around you, and it's just kind of like everybody else. It's not particularly where you're a genius, and it's not particularly like you're having the sexual, divine sexuality experiences that in this energy, the sexual energy that's just absolutely mind blowing, and it's just like it's like ongoing, and it's wonderful. And then also it's like your magnetic energy, your magnetism is, there to pull you and get you in the state of flow so you can easily go where you want to go. And instead, it's like having that bungee cord that keeps pulling you back to where you're at. And so as that happens, then it makes it really a struggle to get where you want to go. And so again, that happens for you and your development of your sexual life that you want to create and you want to be able to love the most, of having more sex with more people more often. And it was happening to me last year in a big way, of wanting to take and create the income of my dreams. And so, another just kind of a universal concept here is that when you live in what I refer to as pure positive energy, and I have a course that I teach on pure positive energy, how to get into a state of pure positive energy. And when you're in that state of pure positive energy, it really lights up your magnetism, and it helps you then to start to be able to tap in and harness that magnetic energy in you, which then pulls you in the direction of where you want to go. And that certainly then is what ended up, for instance, in my life when I was transitioning from monogamy to non-monogamy, it took me 2 years to do that. Yeah, it didn't really need to take more than a couple months. But it took me 2 years because of all the struggle and because of that bungee cord trying to pull me back here. And so, the same thing last year when I started to really work on transitioning my income, started experiencing some of that same struggle. But because I live in this state of pure positive energy, I get things working for me instead of working against me. Things happen for me, they don't happen to me. And then, of course, COVID comes along this year. And for so many people, that has happened to them, But that's a choice that you make because of the energy that you put to it. And for me, it's been a wonderful, wonderful year. I'm excited, looking forward to next year. And so I want you to be just as excited about your life. And I want you to be excited about your life in the 3 areas that we focus on. And Kat and me, and I'm going to be doing a lot more trainings on this on my YouTube channel. But, that is to focus on, your liberating your life in your sex and relationships, liberating your life in having meaningful work that brings you great wealth, and liberating your health and well-being, wellness. And so, those are all the 3 things that you get those things all lined up where they become liberated, and life just starts to become a joyride, where you truly, it's not perfect every day because there are still things in my life. I'm not in the perfect health that I want to be in. And I don't have my income in the perfect situation where I want either, In fact, one of my goals is once I hit that first rung on the ladder where I'm making that $5,000 a month of steady passive income through my earnings online, then I'm going to go ahead and spend a big amount of that every month on some, I'd like to call it, most people would say, well, they're medical people, but they're not. They're professionals that deal in specific focuses. Like one person in the Los Angeles area has a function where she deals with funguses, and don't want to get into too much detail, but I have dealt with an ongoing issue of jock itch for so long that it tells me which is a fungus, jock itch, tells me that there's internal things going on as well. And so, for instance, then another issue is that I'm not in the weight where I want to be, and I've lost some muscle mass in recent years. My testosterone dropped down, and so I want to take and put all those, my testosterone is what the doctors will consider to be normal for my age. But you see, normal means that it's in a range of 200 to 600. And as you get older, then it goes down. And so as long as it's, over 200, then they say, well, your testosterone level is normal. Well, I want that testosterone level back up close to 600. And so I want to be monitoring that and having that checked on. But, my insurance doesn't pay for these things, my medical insurance. And then the medical insurance says if you're in normal range, there's no real threat to your health or anything, then you're okay. I mean, you're a 63-year-old man, you're okay. And the same thing with my cholesterol. They tell me it's okay, but it's not where I want it to be. And so, but there's other things in my health, my weight, which is a factor of my metabolism. My metabolism is too low. And so I want to go to some more holistic medical professionals to treat these kinds of things. Also, they are doing some amazing things in the study of longevity these days. And where there hasn't been any real advancements. There's been huge advancements, as we all know, in many areas of medicine and health and what have you. But there's been almost no advancement until the last 5 years. There was no advancement in the aging process. That people's average death of a particular, like male or a female, pretty well stayed the same for over 50 years. And so they started to look at that 5 years ago, and now they are doing some fantastic things. And that's why, like I say, that if I can get everything tuned up in my health, then my desire is to live a healthy, active life until I'm 120 years old. And that's a life where at the age of 115, I want to have sex with women who are in their 20s and 30s. And they want to have sex with me because I'm going to look good. I'm not going to be like, I don't want to have sex with that fat old guy or anything like that. I'll be an anomaly, I mean, they'll look at me and say, damn, 115 years old, I want to do that. I want to have sex with that old guy, and I want to have a sex drive at that age where I'm still enjoying sex 5 to 10 times a week. And so that's where I'm headed with all that. And so for me, then that is going to take some money to be able to tune some things up in my life that I know that there's specialists, not only in Los Angeles, but also Santa Barbara. There's a clinic in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara which is 30 minutes from where I am here in Ventura. And Dr. Greger has a clinic there. And he has 2 clinics, one in Santa Barbara and one in Palm Springs, because, he only works with wealthy people. And it's wealthy people that have the money to pay him and really get some things tuned up about their health. And so I'm going to spend the money to do those things. And so, I need to make the money first. And so with my health, I'm in for 63. I'm in absolutely great health. I mean, I don't have a single prescription medication. When I go to the doctor and get checked up, which that's the only thing I really end up going to the doctor for is a physical, about once every year, sometimes every 2 years, and more often every 2 years, and get my checkup, and doctor says, okay, we'll see you next time. And it's not like, well, okay, we got to go ahead and put you on these medications, got to do this, got to do that. I mean, that all happened to me when I was in my 20s and 30s. And that's when I said, well, at this age, I'm going to turn things around and change those kinds of things myself so that I don't end up on all those medications. Now, Kat, she ended up on all those medications. And when I met her, she was in her 40s, taking 3 prescriptions. And, after a couple of years of being around me, she wasn't taking any prescriptions, and she doesn't need the prescriptions. And so you can reverse those kinds of things. And so that's with our health and with our sex lives and our relationships. When you create when you develop your magnetic energy and you start to harness it, then it can help you to flow to the life that you want to have, the life that you'll love the most. And that's a sex life and your relationships. I want more relationships. Kat and I were just talking today about wanting more relationships. And yes, during this time of COVID, that has put a little bit of a crinkle on things, and yet at the same time, it really is just helped me to focus more energy on my financial aspects of my life. And so it's been a great thing to have happened for me when COVID come along. Otherwise I'd be spending more time out there having sex And so now, I'm still having great sex and plenty of it, and with multiple people, but I am having more time right now to focus on my financial aspects, because I'm not having the dream amount of sex with the number of people that I'd like to be having sex with. Again, 5 times or more a week, with at least 2 or 3 partners every week. That's my desire. And then the occasion where I'd go off and have a whole group of my friends get together, and I'd have sex 4 times in one day. And so that's kind of the life that I create. And so I want you to think about then, what is it that you want to create? And that's what we talked about the last 3 weeks. And I hope you took the time to go back and review those videos and do the 3 assignments that I asked you to do in the last 3 weeks. Because again, come here every Monday night and talk about how to liberate your life in your sex and relationships. And I want you to be able to live a life of sex and relationships that is just a dream life for you. Because it's certainly, yes, what happens, you see, is you start living that dream life, and then it's so good, you just want more of it. And so, like, when I went from monogamy, having only ever had sex with one woman in my whole life because we were virgins when we got married, and then opened my marriage and went to living an ethically and consensually non-monogamous life, then that was like, oh man, this is so good. I want to keep having more. And I just want to have more sex with more people more often. And so wouldn't you like to have more as well? And so part of that for me is having more money as well. And not only does that impact my health, as I just talked about it then, but having more money means that, and more time and freedom of my time means that I can take more time to have more sex with more people more often. And I'm not one, I don't like, to have sex with a new person every week. I really like to have relationships. I like to have sex with my ongoing friends, lady friends and couples that we have sex with and stuff like that. But, and so you got to create that, but creating that takes some time and energy, and can even take some money. So for instance, I could have people that would be partners, lovers of mine, and I love to travel around, go on road trips or fly across the country or fly to another country. And so I'd like to be able to have, sexual partners and lovers in many places. And some of them I may only see them, once every year or 2 years. I've got a woman friend that I've not yet had sex with, but she's in Kentucky, and I've never been to Kentucky, and she's only been here to California a couple times and never been to Washington. And so, but she's just a lovely, wonderful woman to know. And she's all hot to trot to have sex with me as well. And it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm so lucky. And right now, if it wasn't for COVID, we'd probably be getting together. And so, that you meet these people and you get to know them and you create relationships, and you both come to a place where you say, yeah, we want to have sex. And then what happens? If you don't have money, in this case, she's in Kentucky and I'm here. If you don't have money to just be able to go off and enjoy that juiciness that can make your life so much better in having these kinds of experiences. But if you don't have the money for that, guess what? It's not going to happen. even locally, if you don't have the money to spend going out a little bit, again, not when COVID is going on. I mean, like here in Seattle, my girlfriend in Seattle, she just told me that the governor over the weekend announced a lockdown of things in the state of Washington. And I support that. I think it's a good move to make. And so, but what are you doing now with this extra time that COVID has given you to really create the life that you desire the most? Are you unbearing that magnetic energy, uncovering it and starting to develop it? Are you uncovering your divine sexuality? Or are you still having that tug of that bungee cord pulling you back here? Because as I said, that you've got structure, here's where you want to be, and here's where you want to be, and here's where you're at. And so there's a structure then. Have you created the structure for yourself? That's what we talked about the last 3 weeks on the video. It was all about the reason I went through that and had you do those assignments was so that you'd be able to create the structure. And then if you really had any question about that, feel free to send me an email. The email address and stuff is in the description of the video. And so you create that structure, and then you create the tension so that you can then flow to where you want to be and have the life that you want to have. And that works for you in your sex life and in your relationships. And I'm going to be, probably one of these Monday nights coming up, I'm going to be talking about, ethical and consensual non-monogamy and the different types of ethical and consensual non-monogamy. And that's why we really coined the term ECNM to create and pull together as one community all these different segments that before were kind of off on their own, just like the LGBTQ community did long before us. And they really pioneered and led the ways and blazed the trails for us. And I'm really appreciative of that. And but so we created then the ECNM community. They have the LGBTQ community. We've got the ECNM community. That's ethical and consensual non-monogamous community. And it doesn't matter then really how you practice that your non-monogamy. There's many. Started out when I started making videos on this 4 years ago. I said there's many shades of an EC. Do a video preparation for today, in fact, but one of the Monday night videos, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to talk to you then about how all the many different varieties and shades, because as you move in the direction of where you want to be, you want to start asking yourself, what does this look like? Because that was one of the questions that my wife said to me when after the first year blew by, and then she says, okay, well, then why don't you tell me what this looks like? And at that point, it's like, I was so surprised to hear her even open up to a conversation on what it might look like, that I was unprepared and I had no clue, and I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know, how many people I'd be having sex with and who I'd be having sex with. And I didn't know if I was going to be a swinger or going to have friends with benefits or be polyamorous or the many other types of ethical and consensual non-monogamy. And so what we did is we brought them together. Through my nonprofit organization, Non-Monogamous Lifestyles Association, we brought them all together under one umbrella, and we created the ECNM community, just like that was created for LGBTQ community. And so we brought them all together, and we found that a lot of people in our community, they may be primarily a swinger, or they may be primarily somebody who has friends with benefits, or they may be primarily someone who has an occasional threesome, or they may be someone who has an open relationships or practices polyamory or polyfidelity. and but yet again, we don't want those labels to strictly define you who you are, because I've observed and watched in the beginning of my ethical and consensual non-monogamous life that many people cross over and have multiple experiences within the different types of ethical and consensual non-monogamous relationships. And so we wanted to create an umbrella, and we did that then a couple, was it 5 years ago or something like that now, that we came up with, coined the acronym ECNM for ethical and consensual non-monogamy. And because, a lot of people, I hear them out there now, they refer to ethical non-monogamy. And other people I hear them refer to as consensual non-monogamy. And I would suggest those are types that enter under our umbrella of an ECNM life. And that's the life that we want to help you to create so that you can have a life that you love the most. So let me go ahead and stop with that conversation then and get on here to sharing my screen. And in sharing my screen, I'll get to my weekly wrap-up report. And I'm going to do this quickly because I'm already going late enough. And so I started late, and I don't want to get going too close to 9:30, actually, because that's what cat goes to bed on the bed behind me here. And so I just don't want to go too late on that. So let's go ahead and then switch over here and share my screen and get to the wrap-up report. And for some reason, there we go. Finally, I was clicking and it wasn't moving. And that's because of one of the things that is on my list here that to have had done last week, I did not complete. And that is shutting my computer down, and it is complaining. And so, well, it's complaining much that now it's just not working. And so we're just going to go ahead, and I'm going to I'll just wrap up with telling you that I passed 2 of my 3 objectives for last week. Oh, here we are. And I'm finally here now. Video report card. And so I usually start with this page, and then I go down, but I'm going to jump right down here to the video report card. And I was going to talk a little more about the homework assignments for the last 3 weeks, but go back and review the last 3 weekly videos and do that homework assignments. November 27th is coming up. That's Friday after Thanksgiving. Want to announce that again. One of the things I'm going to be working on this week is to get that website created where you'll be able to go in and sign up to attend that event that we're having, an online event Kat and I are putting on November 27th. In fact, we're going to do it 2 times that day. We're going to do it once in the morning, and we're going to do it once in the afternoon. And so the reason for that is that we know that some people are going to be getting up early and some people aren't, or some people are going to be, doing things with family maybe or whatever. And we just don't want to take and have you get into a situation where, you can't attend it live if you want to attend it live. Now, where did that page go? There we go. Okay. And so, first, the bottlenecks, breakdowns, and breakthroughs. A great thing ends up being a bit of a bottleneck, but then it was a breakthrough, and it's now a breakdown. But that was I created an account on ClickBank, and ClickBank. One of the things that I'm doing to transition my income is going to be developing a program to market products and services through as an affiliate. And so in this particular situation where I have an opportunity to market a digital product, which is I'll be telling you more about in the weeks to come. It's just an amazing product. And so I get an ongoing monthly commission for that. Like I said, it's passive income at that point. And so I needed to get signed up and registered with an affiliate as an affiliate through ClickBank. and had some difficulty with that, but then I finally got it all done and set up. But there's just one thing that's not quite working right yet. I'm not quite sure what it is. These technical things sometimes become a bit of a thorn in my side. But that really is these thorns. And usually it's around technical things. These thorns really are helping me to create that's the transition I'm going through. And this transition that is creating better quality of person within me, better character, somebody who knows what I'm doing a lot better than somebody if I didn't have, the thorns, if everything just kind of came easy to me. And so I know more what I'm doing because of the thorns. And so anyway, I'll be continuing to work on that this week. But I had got some problems with bookkeeping resolved, which there was some, and it's actually got more problems to resolve yet. But I got some of my problems resolved with bookkeeping. I got a business plan developed, which was in writing, where instead of things being up here, where oftentimes I keep things all in my head, I got to get them out on paper so that I can share them with other people that want to see what's going on. And I'll be sharing that with you. And then one of my goals for this month in November is to complete my Magnetic Mind certification, and that's with my mentor in Australia, Chris Duncan. And I need to do a lot of studying for that, and then take a test. And I want to have taken that test by the end of this month. And so I did some of that last week. And so then my 3 goals last week, one was to spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week getting my bookkeeping done. I give myself a pass on that. And then spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week getting my computer shut down. I give myself a pass on that, although it still needs more work. And then get my ebook formatted, and I give myself a fail on that. I did not even get to working on that last week. And so it comes in, what are the 3 things that I'm going to work to accomplish this week? And that is that I'm going to get my sign-up page built for the November 27th event. That's one thing I'm going to work on. In fact, it's something I've never done. I got to learn how to build web pages and do a lot of stuff with it. And so that's really going to be a big accomplishment, getting that done this week. Complete up to section 5 of my Magnetic Mind training, going towards my certification. There are 12 sections that I have to go through, and I've been through them all, but I'm now reviewing them and getting ready to take my test. And then spending 2 hours a day, 5 days this week, getting my computer shut down. Just again, continuing to work on the process with my computer, and it's just something that I've got to focus on getting done, because you can see that the computer is getting very upset at me that I am not getting this thing shut down like I need to. And so those are my 3 goals this week. Continue to keep that date, November 27th, on your radar, on your calendar, so that you can attend our live event. And if there's some reason that you just can't attend the live event, when you register for it, then you will be able to get a recording of the event. But we're going to be talking about how to have an easy, a liberated, and a fun life, and lay a foundation through the month of December, so that then starting next year on January, right after New Year's Day, that you go ahead and basically start being able to have that and create and work on. I like to refer to it as getting in a river raft. And you want to flow down the river to get where you're going. You're not going to be there right away. It takes a little bit of time flowing down that river. And right now, we're going to get you in the car. That's what we're going to do on the 27th of November, is like the car trip to get you to the river so you can get in the raft to flow down the river and be where you want to be. And so on the 27th, they're going to be talking about how to lay the foundation to prepare to get ready to get in that raft, and so that you can enjoy the year next year. And whether you did this year or did not this year, I want you to really enjoy next year. And I want to give you, information and tools about how to live that elf life, easy, liberated, and fun. And so that's what we hope to do. And so until we come back then next week, we'll be talking a little more about all this. But until then that's going to about do it for me tonight. Thanks for being with me, and I hope that you got something out of this video tonight. If you did, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also click on that like button, and feel free to make a comment or ask a question as well. And thanks a lot. Look forward to hearing from you.